Well, good morning, St. Francis and John, Diocese of Lexington. We are here at St. John, especially at the bell tower. We ring bell at 10 o'clock as the government requested, and unified as a state Kentucky, to pray to end this pandemic, and so also remember all the dead as well. And here we have Andrew. If you remember, he was with me as a first responder, and he is very knowledgeable about the tradition of the bell. So Andrew, could you explain to us about this beautiful historical of the bell that we have, and how it came about, and how we're going to deal with that?
Okay. Well, if you're a parishioner of St. John, St. Francis and John, you've certainly heard the name Trimber, Father Trimber. Father Trimber was a priest here, just like Father Len, from 1984 to 1996. And he was very important to this parish because he did a lot of things, least of which was he reopened the school. We didn't have a school here at St. John. It opened in the 50s, it was open for a short time, closed in the 60s. And we just had a vacant building, and he reopened the school, and to this day it's still thriving. But something else he did was, we only had maybe 1 or 2 bells in our bell tower. And Father Trimber he bought 2 more bells, and then he had the pre-existing bells removed and retuned, then had them all crammed back up there. So the bells you hear, it wasn't as an amazing sound until 1988 when he did that. But just to tell you a little bit about the names, and this is all because of Father Trimber too. All right, we have the St. John bell, which is the largest, and we have the St. Francis bell, and those names speak for themselves. Those are our patron saints, St. John and St. Francis. But St. Benedict bell, Father Trimber had a devotion to St. Benedict. In fact, I believe he was the oblate of St. Benedict. And also, you know, when you come to Mass, you probably walk by and don't even notice it, but on the eastern side of our church is a statue of St. Benedict, which was put there by Father Trimber because of his devotion to St. Benedict. And also this one, St. Aloysius. There is a St. Aloysius. Now, this is interesting because Father Trimber's father, his dad was his father's name was Aloysius. Now, I believe he was named after St. Aloysius, and Father Trimber may have had a devotion to St. Aloysius, but I think, you know, he gave it that name just because that was his dad's name, you know?
But that bell designated for the dead.
Yes, this bell.
Toll those bells for the dead.
Yes, if there's a funeral mass here, this bell is rung. None of these, just this one. I believe it's the lowest bell, and so when they toll for the death, they ring this bell.
And St. John is the largest bell.
Yes, St. John is, you know, I guess, if you can picture the Liberty Bell, it's not that big, it doesn't have a crack in it, but it looks like that. A little smaller, but it's certainly the largest bell. It's also the hardest one to pull. I mean, sometimes you really got to put your body weight into it. The rest of these are smaller. But yeah, we are blessed to have, you know, a lot of new churches that are built are not built with steeples. And if they have bells, they're electronic. That's if they even have bells. So we're blessed to have, you know, not just a bell tower, but 4 amazing bells with rich history.
We thanks to Father Lee Trimber. Actually, the unique about Father Lee Trimber associated with me was the fact I was a seminarian, was sponsored by this parish. And Father Lee Trimber, unique about him, if you know the story of Father Lee, there's many great stories of Father Lee Trimber. He's very dry humor, very straightforward. The unique about, he was the oblate of St. Benedict. That's why we have Benedict Bell. But one thing about the oblate with him, if you know about St. Benedict tradition, Benedictine, they love to use incense. And Father Lee loved incense. Especially when people complained to him that they couldn't breathe because too much incense. Guess what? He put a lot more incense for the heck of it. That's Father Lee Trimber. But anyhow, the unique about Father Lee Trimber, toward the end of his life, actually, at his funeral, actually, the vestment that he wore in his coffin was mine, because you couldn't find any other vestment. So I said, I donate my vestment for him. right after my ordination. So thank Father Lee Trimper and all this beautiful bell.